So this was the state in which the funds were when the previous video ended. So now, this time, I would show you one more thing. This is a good question. Like you can think of it like a question. Like if a person can guess this answer, then they have understood my system very well. Well, naturally, I'll try to explain the reason behind the answer as well. No, not the OT200. Well, so here actually the cost price is 30 rupees. The amount donated is 200. The funds needed to donate food is 18. The funds for the people involved is 120. So now, first there is a cost price of 30 rupees. So now the first aim is to understand if any refund would happen or not. So right now there is zero balance in bank, right? There is zero balance in bank. Also, there is an 18 rupees requirement of funds to provide food. Now, actually, when a person tries to buy something worth 30, now what's the total uh, uh, price required to buy food? Just the price required to buy food, the cost price. Already 18 is here, and then if you add 30, it will become 48, right? So the total amount required to buy food itself is 48. And the funds for the people involved is what? 120, right? So it means 120 plus 48, that is 168 rupees is the maximum amount that can be accepted, right? Because the total cost price is 30. So for buying food itself, 48 rupees is needed. And on top of that, there is 120 rupees that can be accepted for people involved, right? Maximum. This is the funds required. Its maximum acceptable is 120. So basically 168 can be accepted. That's the maximum acceptable amount. So 32 rupees would be refunded and 168 is the actual amount that is getting donated. 168. If I said any number that is not 168 before, understand it was wrong. It's 168. Okay, 168 that is getting accepted. 32 is getting refunded. So if I show you right now, you'll see 00. But I can show you my database to prove the actual amount that is getting accepted. So this is my database that you can see right now. So right now you can see my database. I will show you the actual amount that got donated. Now this is my orders table. If you see over here, you can see the amount donated is 168. The cost price 30. The amount donated 168. You can see the quantity was 6. So now you can see that the amount donated is 168. So this is the amount donated that was taken, not the total amount that was actually donated, because 32 was refunded. So taken amount is shown in the database. Okay. Now you can see this screen. So I guess I have finished explaining how the funds update most or almost fully, but there is one part that is remaining. For me to demonstrate that part, actually, if I have to maintain the consistency of all the values that I have till now, that I have did like all the orders that I had made since the explanation started, all the needs that I added since the explanation started, since part one. If I have to maintain all those things and then demonstrate to you one thing that is remaining, that would take me till tomorrow. Like, I mean, like, only tomorrow it is possible for me to demonstrate that way. It's not because it's going to take too much time, but it's because only tomorrow would that feature get added. Because that feature gets removed based on a condition and it gets added based on a condition. Because I actually did something that made it remove today. So for it to get added again, I have to wait till tomorrow. So actually what I can do is maybe delete all the tables data and then again restart and then show you maybe how the feature works. But that would actually remove all the things that I have done till now. It will be a very clean start. Perhaps that's possible. Mm, but I'll try to explain to you what it actually does. Uh, what it does is actually now you can see my database perhaps. There is a table called funds inconsistency stopper. This table you won't understand anything seeing what this click date is for. So actually you won't understand. It's not very easy to explain. Perhaps. Well, I'll try to explain, but so see. So when the restaurant starts, initially this fund and this fund both are initialized to zero when the restaurant starts. So initially you see zero over here, right? So that I try to implement in the code. Now suppose that there are no needs that are there for a certain day. There are no needs. But assume that the needs were added for the previous day. Assume that's the case that some needs were added for the previous day, but for the present day that and there are no needs. So in that scenario, when the previous day there were some needs, the previous day there were some needs, but in the present day there are no needs, then in that scenario, actually the way the funds have to update, actually you saw the funds update, right? You saw the funds update. There is a table actually that stores these values. Actually, there is a table. If I show you the columns of those table, you won't understand. You will be like, what is X and Y? Actually, this is why the funds needed to donate for this Y and the funds for people involved is X. So actually, it's not very comfortable to call it X and Y. It's better to see it this way itself. But the thing is that X and Y, you can understand as these two values, these two amounts you can see. Okay, when I say X and Y, you can just think of these two amounts. For these two amounts to get updated, uh, when a need is added the next day, there has to be a need that is added. Without a need being added, they won't get updated. Okay, so without a need being added, they won't get updated. But what if there are no needs to be added the next day, but still they have to get updated? Why should they still get updated? Because the amount is withdrawn, right? See, the previous day, suppose the amount of funds that were required for people, the maximum amount was 400. Okay, say the previous day it was 400. Okay, finally, before 11:55 p.m., suppose the amount that was required became 5 rupees. Say many people donated and it became 5 rupees. Okay, so now the next day, suppose there are no needs to be added. So 5 rupees plus 0. So now also the funds that is required for the people involved is still 5 rupees. There is no increment. It's still 5 rupees. But now the maximum amount of funds for the people involved has to be changed. It's not 400 rupees or 500, whatever it was, whatever I said before. It is not 400 or 500. It is 5 rupees now. The maximum funds for people involved is now 5 rupees, and the funds required for the people involved is also 5 rupees. So the next day I had to change the maximum amount of funds for the people involved as 5 rupees, so that the amount in the bank is clearly stated, because the amount in the bank is actually maximum amount of funds for people involved minus the funds for the people involved that are required. That is the amount in the bank that an employee would get. It is the maximum amount of funds for the people involved minus the amount of funds for the people involved that is required. So suppose I do not, change the maximum amount of funds for people involved the next day to 5 rupees and keep it as 400 or 500, whatever it was initially, the maximum amount. If I keep it as 400 or 500 initial maximum amount, then the next day, then it will wrongly imply that even after withdrawing amount, still 395 rupees or 495 rupees was there in bank. That is wrong, right? After withdrawing, there is 0 rupees. So the maximum amount of funds for the people involved has to change from what, 400 or 500 to 5 rupees. So it has to change. This has to happen in case there are no needs that are added. Even if no needs are added, some updation has to happen. Some updation has to happen in fund calculation, even if no needs are added. Only if a need was added the previous day, has this updation has to happen. Only if a need was added. Not just the previous day. If there were any needs added at all, it's good to create this updation. If there were never any needs, if all were volunteers, then this updation is not required. If all were volunteers, then there are no needs, then this updation is not required. But if there were needs added, then to keep the amount in the bank that is left for the people, that is the employees, as correct. If it is kept as 5 rupees, but the maximum amount of funds for people involved. I will show you one thing. Actually, there is a table called max underscore x. You won't understand when I say max underscore x, but this is the table that stores the maximum amount of funds for the people required. Now you can see that the maximum amount of funds for the people required is 120 rupees, right? You can see in this table the maximum amount of funds for the people required is 120 rupees. Okay. And here you can see that the funds for the people required right now is 0 rupees. Okay. So that means that 120 rupees has already been received and is there in the bank. So right now there is no amount required. Okay. Now assume in this same condition tomorrow, if the maximum amount of funds is not updated, if tomorrow also the maximum amount of funds required for the people is 120 rupees, even without adding any need, the maximum amount of funds for the people required is 120, then that is actually wrong. It has to become 0 rupees if there are no needs that are added, because already everything is cleared. So if it is in this scenario, by 11:55 PM, if it is in the same scenario, then this has to be cleared out and it has to be 0. The maximum amount of funds for the people required has to be 0. So the next day, when talking about bank balance, that is maximum amount of funds for the people required minus the funds required for the people that are yet to be received. Uh, the balance would be stated properly. So in that case, 0 minus 0. That means 0 rupees is left for the people involved. It's basically because there were no needs added. Also, the previous days needs that were added got cleared out completely. So the bank balance for the people who are working as employees is 0. Basically, the bank balance for the people working as employees is the maximum amount of funds for the people required per day. It's re-estimated every day. If at all, it's uh, like not 0. ever. Okay. So if at all, it's not zero ever. So it's re-estimated. So the bank balance is actually maximum amount of funds for the people that is required minus the funds that are yet to be received for the people involved. Okay. So if the funds maximum amount of funds for the people required is zero and funds yet to be received is also zero, then the bank balance is zero for the people, that is the employees. If the maximum amount of funds for people required is 100 and the funds required for the people that are yet to be received is say 10 rupees, then 90 rupees is already there in bank for the people. Only 10 rupees is remaining. So that the bank balance can be estimated properly. That is why some updation has to happen. And to manage that updation, I created this table. Basically, what this does is it actually tries to prevent updating the same stuff 2 times a day. Actually, it's a very critical issue if the same stuff is updated 2 times a day. It's a very critical issue. Suppose the maximum amount of funds for the people involved is 5 rupees. If this gets updated on every order or on every donation, then the whole logic would break. I actually initially made this issue and then I understood that it has to get updated only once. So I actually try to make a possible way in which only one time I can try to update this. That's only possible. Only once a day can I try to update this. Can I try to update a certain table? So I try to make it that way. So I actually try to get the date, the last click, the date of this link. Actually, that's a link. The last click, the date of that link is stored over here. If I, if it is today, then it's removed. If it is not today, it is there. So that's the logic actually. If the last click, the date is today, then it is removed. If the last click, the date is yesterday, or it is not even there, it means it's never clicked, then it remains. So that's it. So I did not demonstrate this case. Actually, right now, if I open admin homepage, you won't see any link. But if you actually rewind and maybe see my part one, you can actually see there was a link. There was a link. Re-estimate funds if no needs are to be added today. Click here if you want to re-estimate funds if no needs are to be added today. Once you click over that, that gets disappeared. You can't update the same stuff 2 times or 100 times. Only one time is allowed per day.